Hello, this is my final video for English 310, and I'm just going to talk about some of the essays that I wrote throughout this semester and kind of explain what was difficult about writing these essays, what was easy, how I went through the writing process, and what I'm going to take away from the class and apply it into my own classroom. So the first project that we did was the revision essay, and this one was a little bit difficult. I struggle with revision and editing in general, so this was a little hard to go back and look and see like where you made the mistakes. So I don't really like doing that. But I appreciate that I was able to do that, because now I see that a piece of work is never truly completed. I could probably still go find things to revise now. It was easier to do this because I had people peer reviewing. I don't think I would be able to do it if I didn't have a peer reviewer, sorry. So I chose to do an essay that I didn't do as well on in another class previously, and so it really did truly help to go back and look and see what I could do better in my writing, and I learned a lot about myself and my writing process by doing that. My original work was a descriptive essay about my vacation to Oceanside, California, and this one wasn't that hard to write. I think the hardest thing about this essay was that I had to go into pretty deep detail to explain things to the reader. I really wanted the reader to feel like they were with me on vacation, and I don't know if I got there, but it's definitely better than what I normally would do. And I didn't want it to be so story time like, so I didn't want to make it so bland, because story time can turn into a narrative, and I didn't want it to turn into a narrative at all. So for my process, what I did for this was I actually did some research, and I jotted down some notes while I was out and about in the area that I was vacationing in, and then I took that image that I wrote down in my journal, and then I wrote about that in my essay, and I think that it turned out really well. For the third essay, we did the discourse community report, and this one was probably the hardest essay I have ever written, ever. So I think what was really intimidating was all the research that went behind it. So all the interviews and being able to explain it in charts and graphs, or however we were meant to do that, and that was pretty difficult for me. I think the easiest thing, I don't know, I can't really think of an easy thing from that. It wasn't very easy to write that paper, but it was a good experience to kind of get involved in the community a little bit more and be able to talk about English classrooms with professionals and read those journals and understand how those people speak to each other, what they know, and you know what I'm going to be getting myself into. So that was really a good experience. The next essay that I wrote was the book critique, and for the book critique I chose to read Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. And when I picked this book out, I didn't really think about applying it to my job or to school or English or anything. So I was a little nervous as I was writing this book critique, because I wanted to find connections, and I was having a hard time, but then I was like, there are plenty of connections in this book. So finding the connection between my schooling career and her advice in the book was difficult. As far as the writing process, it was relatively easy. I always struggle with getting the word count, so I struggled with that, especially in this one. And luckily, through peer review, I was able to find things that I could write about a little bit more and go into more detail. And the last thing was the argument project. And for the argument project, I researched whether or not grammar should be taught in schools or not. And I still feel really iffy about this. I used to believe that, grammar was everything, and then I learned more about what grammar truly is, and I'm like, grammar is not everything. That is probably the worst thing about being an English major, actually, diagramming sentences and stuff. So I do think that writing this argument essay has helped me look at some issues in the English community more and how I should approach them. I think the hardest thing when writing this essay was picking a side, because I'm so wishy-washy sometimes. And the easiest thing, I really, really liked how we did each step at a time, and I am definitely going to be using that kind of process while I do my argument projects in school. I'm sure the kids will have some assignment to do where they will have to explain or take a side in an essay, and I really like how we just took it one step at a time and then put it all together in the end. And so I think that really truly made the argument project easier. So throughout the semester, we have learned about the writing process and how to be creative and how to get ideas onto paper and what kind of things need to go into writing an essay. So I am definitely going to take peer review away from this. Peer review really, really, truly helped me. And I think as long as the students have something where they are being told what to look for and how to look for it, and writing comments on the paper and explaining step by step, to help their partner is really helpful. And I'm going to come up with a way to do that in my classroom. And let's see. Another thing that I want my students to learn from this is to know that the writing process doesn't have to be a chore. It can be fun, and I really want them to enjoy the process along the way. So you hear kids all the time in school, oh, I hate writing. Well, I think if the teacher can explain why they're doing it a certain way and how they're going to do it, it will be easier on them too. So with that being said, those are the things that I have learned this semester throughout doing these projects and with experiencing the writing process in depth, and I have learned a lot. So thank you for the semester, and I will see you next time. Bye!